I had a patient come in who I was struggling to improve, or help at least anyway. And she came in and she said she was feeling better. And in my head I was thinking, well, that's not possible because I haven't done anything. And she said, no, I went to a Wim Hof workshop on the weekend. And I said, I clearly remember saying, a Wim what? The Wim Hof method involves breath work, whole immersion, and mindset commitment. You make a choice to try something you've never done before. But then comes the moment of I call it the moment of truth for yourself, where you're breathing heavily. And it's multiple rounds of that. And all of a sudden you forget what it is you're doing, or where you are. But in that moment, when you step into the ice bath, all of a sudden, boom, zooms in. And then you have to deal with that moment. And you have to be okay with it. No matter what's coming your way, you have to be, okay, yes, this is challenging, but I'm doing this. This is me. I think this quote really resonates with today. Your life begins at the end of your comfort zone, and I hope you experience that. I don't even think I could type up his name, you know. I thought it was Wim Hof. But Google, thankfully, brings up Wim Hof. He's a Dutch national guy. I started to get curious about his story, and he's got quite the, he has quite the story coming up, and then what he's done since then. So I was getting curious, and then on one of the tabs, it said research, and I was like, oh, well, let's see what kind of research these guys do. And it was actually legit double-blind research that I was really interested in, very curious. And so now, as I'm going through this process on Monday night, my interest is starting to peak, and I thought, I gotta find one of these things to do. So I signed up for a workshop in Lake Country with Jeff Sorensen, who I'll never forget that workshop. That to me was something I didn't know what to expect. Went to a yoga studio in Lake Country. Was with a bunch of people I had no idea who they were. We sat around and told stories, and then we got into the breath work. And on about the third round of the Wim Hof Method breath work, I was floating down a well. I was just in such a state of peace and happiness, and just like most people ask you, like, what's it like floating down a well? You kind of, that's a little bit strange, but I was totally at peace. Yeah, it was, yeah. And so that was really special to me. And I remember sitting up after the breath work going, what the hell was that? That was crazy. The rest of the day goes by, and we start talking. Jeff starts giving us the theory and education behind cold immersion. And then we go outside. I think there was about 10 or 11 of us in the workshop. And an interesting thing I remember is that 9 out of the 10 people had flip-flops on or sandals. I was the 10th barefoot. Because I thought this was the thing. You know, I thought it was supposed to be cold immersion and cold. And yeah, I'll never forget that. Because after you go in the cold immersion, which was incredible on its own, and I'll never forget that feeling either, you have to get out and then wait for other people to go through. So meanwhile, you're standing on cold concrete. Yeah, that was that was a special feeling. But that moment in the cold, yeah, it really sold me on Wim Hof and what he's doing, and just what he has provided the world with his method. It just, man, I can't believe in such a short time frame of like 2, maybe 3 weeks before I had this patient come in and tell me they did this, and then I did it, and it clicked for me, and yeah, it was incredible. So yeah. I have never tapped into my spiritual side. That side that you saw earlier with me dancing and being goofy, not this guy. Never tapped into that. And so if I've never tapped into my spiritual side, what is the likelihood I've ever tapped into my patient's spiritual side? And maybe the pain that they're feeling is far more complicated than costovertebral joint irritation. So I started practicing the method every day in the morning. I would do my breath work. I would get in my cold bath. And somehow that allowed me to zoom in, because when I'm in the cold, nothing else. No mechanical thoughts. No, I got to do this today. No, I got to do that today. Nothing. It's cold. And it drew my attention right away in an instant. And I got out of there feeling, oh, that's amazing fucking coffee. But I also thought, oh, that's very deep. That's on my inside. That's below my mind. That's below my ego. That is in a state of nothingness. This is Wim. And one day is walking past a pond in the wintertime in Netherlands and says, wonder what that's like. Like, that's his curiosity. That's his creativity. That's where he draws his inner self from, because he asks himself questions. I wonder what that would feel like, which is probably what brought everybody here today. I wonder what that would feel like. So he gets in there. Yeah, guess what? It's cold. He finds a way to deal with the cold. How? Breathwork and mindset. Part of the process is to do a 10-week online program, and they designed it that way because of COVID. To do the online program, you do Zoom calls with the other trainees, and then at the end of that, you travel to Poland for 5 days as the final part or the final leg of your instructor certification program. And so when I did it, I went there, and from Vernon, it's a long way to go to Poland, and there was a lot of hoops to jump through at the time because of COVID. And so I got there and did all the things and jumped through the hoops. And I remember laying there the first night in these small beds in cabins in the middle of nowhere in Poland. I had no idea where it was. I mean, I could see it on a map, but how do I wrap my head around that? I'm laying there in bed going, what the hell am I doing here? You know, like, I have a practice in British Columbia in Canada, a small little town in Vernon. And I'm in Poland because I felt so strongly about this method. I wanted to bring it to other people. I was doubting myself in that moment. I was like really asking some, like, are you out of your mind? Then the next morning, so this is in Poland, it's cold, it's January. The next morning we meet, all the trainees are there, high level or instructors are there, and one of the instructors takes us through breath work. And we're all, we've been practicing the method for quite a while, and I'll never forget that morning when doing that breath work, considering where I'd come from and all the work I'd put into myself. And he's talking about things like, find your inner child. You're not here by coincidence. You're here because you're curious. Oh, man. I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. I don't care where I'm in the world. I'm in the right place. I'm with my crew. These type of people think like I do. They want to explore this stuff. Yeah. In that moment, I was like, okay, Poland, yeah, I can do this. And then we get in this beautiful like waterfalls and cold pools and naturally made. What a beautiful spot. And I'm in there with these people and I'm connecting with them. And then one night, the third night, this guy, one of my roommates, tapped me. I had my headphones on. I was listening to music. He tapped me on the shoulder. Said, "Hey, just want to let you know, one of the guys downstairs tested positive for COVID." And I was like, "Oh, shit." And because I'm from western side of Canada, I got a long way to get home. And at the time, they're very restrictive if you get COVID abroad. So I thought, well, I better check. Sure enough, I don't have any symptoms, but sure enough, I'm positive for COVID. And quarantine in a cabin, the whole course was canceled. At the time, you couldn't come home for 14 days as a Canadian if you get COVID abroad. And, the first thought I had was, I'm fucked. What you might feel as you go into more of the spiritual side, you might start to feel your hands cramp. You might start to feel some tingling, some ringing in your ears. This is all part of breathing. What's happening is you're changing into an alkali system. The calcium ions in the bloodstream are starting to change, and you'll start to tingle a little bit or ringing in your ears. If you need to move around, if you need to wiggle your feet or your knees or your arms or your head or whatever, totally up to you. Whatever you need to do, you go. Lean into it. If you find that your neighbor is going through something, please provide a safe space for them. Allow them to explore whatever it is they need to explore, and approach your spiritual side. The second thought I had was, I'll figure this out. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of this whole process, is like staying calm and being adaptable to whatever situation you're in. So then I had to take a cab from Poland to the Czech Republic because there was a hotel there at the airport where my flight was supposed to leave from. So I had a room at the hotel. Hotel took very good care of me. Said, they don't normally do room service there. We'll bring you room service stuff. And man, everything after that point in Poland, I felt so connected to these people and so strongly about this method, and shit, I got COVID. But then I didn't die. I had all the real deal symptoms and stuff. No hospitalization or whatever, but it passed. And then I was looking for ways to make the most of this, so I reached out to another trainee, another Wim Hof trainee who lives in Prague, and I spent the next 2 weeks in Prague, and it was fantastic. Yeah, it was expensive, but she showed me where she does her cold immersion in this like nature in the middle of Prague, and I'm just like, what? This is incredible. This is so incredible. And yet it came because of some point along the way that was like a serious challenge, and yeah, it was super special. Like, I'll never forget that. Man, it was such a special trip, but I had lots of barriers and challenges to face along the way. Oh, so cool. Like that is the Wim Hof method in a nutshell, is being able to deal with that stuff simply because I could stay calmer now than I could before, and just have the confidence in myself to know that I'll make the best of a bad situation, even if I can't fix it. I'm not trying to fix things these days. I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation, or the best of any situation. And that was a cool trip. It was like top 2 in my trips of things that I'll never forget. Hopefully never forget. Mine's a screwer that way, but it's one of those things that I could talk about as if it happened yesterday. That was a cool trip. Poland, and I was with all these people who believe so strongly in this method, and yeah, we got COVID, and too bad. But then, it's like the hero's journey, right? Hero has to go slay a dragon, and the dragon, I beat you down the first time. But then you got back up and found a different way. And then that way was even better than the first way. Oh man, it was so cool. It was expensive, but it was cool. Very expensive. Fully in, letting go. Circular breath. Start to expand on your circle. Making the circle bigger. Start to feel the cold air coming in. Fully in, letting go. Deeper into your system. Let it go. Fully in. Let it go. Start to embrace the cold air coming in through your nose. Connecting with Mother Nature. Fully in. Letting go. You're doing fantastic. Breathing deeply into your system. As we sync up for our last 3 breaths together, fully in, let it go. No structure. Lean into the spiritual side. Fully in, let it go. Last breath in, fully in, let it all go. And just pause your breathing. No need to breathe. Relax into this space. You're not here by coincidence. You're here because you're curious. You want to explore beneath the mind, beneath the ego, and you can completely relax into your body and let your body do what it knows how to do.
I think everyone talks about the cold immersion, but the breathing is so necessary and so helpful for not just doing my morning breathing, but anytime I'm in a stressful situation and I just take the time to take a breath. And then the cold, I go into Kalamalka Lake. And I almost feel like that lake and I have a bond. It calls to me. And I have to get into that lake every couple of days because it talks to me. And I get into the lake and I do and I get centered and I calm and I meditate anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes.